Hey everyone, welcome to Adventures in Everyday Cooking, where every day can be an adventure in your kitchen. My name is Heather, and today I've got a treat for all of us. I'm gonna make French onion soup, but because of a recent trend that I've seen, people are putting gnocchi in their French onion soup, and I'm like, I'm in. I am in for gnocchi in my soup. However, we're gonna kick it up a notch because we're gonna actually do our gnocchi in the air fryer. We're actually gonna utilize our air fryer for most of the baked elements, but nobody was air frying their gnocchi and getting them nice and crispy. Instead, they were boiling them in the broth so that they're kind of like traditional gnocchi. But you and I both know, if you've been here for a little while, that air fried gnocchi is fantastic. So we're gonna do this. It's gonna be fun, and I can almost guarantee you that this is gonna be a home run. So if you're ready for this adventure and you got a little time, because it does take a little time to make French onion soup, let's get started. What you're gonna need is 4 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, 3 pounds of sweet onions, thinly sliced, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, 3/4 of a teaspoon of sugar, 1 cup of dry white wine, 2 tablespoons of flour, 6 cups of beef broth, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of thyme, 2 bay leaves. You're gonna need some slices of bread, some Gruyère cheese, and some Parmesan. You're also gonna need that pre-prepped gnocchi. Now, if you wanna make your gnocchi from scratch, you will need to make it the day before and get it into your refrigerator so it can have time to really firm up before it goes in your air fryer. I'm just saying that because I have made fresh gnocchi before and then put it right into the air fryer, and it just doesn't quite turn out as well as the day after. So I'm just gonna use prepackaged in it though, because that's how we roll. Let's go. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we are gonna get our pot onto medium heat. There we go, and we are gonna get in our butter and our oil. All right, and we're just gonna let that melt for a second before we get our onions inside. Now, I pre-did the onions before this video because I used the Pampered Chef Rapid Prep Mandolin. Let me just show you a quick clip here. Yeah, that right there took me about 3 minutes, and that's about 6 onions. And I absolutely love my Rapid Prep Mandolin. If you do not have one yet or have something similar, you need one. You need one in your life. It makes slicing things so much easier, and I get to control the size of the slices. It's fantastic. I can't live without mine. All right, let's go ahead and get our onions in now that that's almost all melted. And this is a ton of onions. Now, I mentioned in the intro that this was gonna take a little bit of time, and it indeed does take a little bit of time. These onions are going to be in this pot for about 2 hours. It's gonna take you a while. This part is probably about 45 minutes to an hour to caramelize all of these onions and cook them down. And then we're gonna, yeah, it's gonna be a second. So with the onions, we're gonna put the salt, the pepper, and the sugar. The sugar just helps them caramelize a little bit better. Just trust the process. And we're gonna give that a good stir. And now we're pretty much gonna walk away and only stir about once every 2 or 3 minutes. Meanwhile, you can prep some of the other things that you're gonna need for this recipe. So if you are making your own gnocchi, now is the time to go ahead and make that and put that together. But like I mentioned, I am not gonna do that. And these are the ramekins that I'm gonna serve my soup in. So when I cut my bread, I'm gonna want to make sure that I have pieces about the same size as that ramekin. So I'm giving myself a little bit of a job because I don't want round. I want square. So basically, I'm gonna just turn it over and then I'm gonna trim off my edges. This is probably super extra, but that's okay. And I am going to use my sourdough bread because my sourdough bread is the bomb. And I'm gonna save all of these offcuts to snack on because seriously, like I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've got really good at sourdough lately. Ta-da! All right, once that it's in there and I know the size, I can just cut more pieces to the same size. now I have the oven rack for my air fryer. I'm gonna put my bread on it because that's how I'm gonna toast my bread. Because remember, we're gonna utilize the air fryer to do all of the baking elements. So I'm gonna take a little butter, just a little bit. And those guys are ready for the air fryer, but we're not gonna do them until we have about 10 minutes left of everything. Give that another stir. Already you can see those onions starting to change color for us. You definitely want to scrape the bottom of the pan to get that fond up off the bottom because that fond is flavor, which is why I'm using the flat-sided wooden spoon so that I can get that fond and really work it up. Next, I'm going to grate my Gruyere cheese because I haven't done that yet. I didn't need to. I have all this time waiting for these to caramelize. All right, and I'm gonna grate it to be the teeny tiny grates just because I know that will help it to melt a little bit better on the tops of my bread. And I know what you're thinking. Heather, why do you have a box grater? Of all the things that you own that are Pampered Chef, why don't you have one of the Pampered Chef graters? Thanks for asking. I don't like them. Plain and simple. I have tried all of them thinking that something would be better than a box grater, and I just don't like them. There's your honesty. I don't like them. Ooh, already we're getting some nice brown onions. And I will stick this cheese into the refrigerator for the next 30 minutes. All right, I'm starting to see evidence that this is very close to moving on to our next step. When you see dark bits of onion showing up in there, do you see the extra dark pieces? You're almost there. We're probably like 5 more minutes, which took a total, if it's 5 more minutes, took a total of about 35 minutes. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call it and say that these onions are well caramelized. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our cooking wine and we are going to deglaze this pan. We're gonna cook off all of this wine. So I'm gonna pour it in and then I'm gonna stir it up real well, and we're literally going to cook this until there is no wine left. And make sure you scrape the bottom of the pan to get any of those nice little fond bits up. And this part is gonna take 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how high your heat is. And just scrape it every once in a while to make sure that nothing is sticking. Meanwhile, make sure you have everything else ready. We have our flour, our broth, our Worcestershire, and our seasonings. You may see me push the onions off to the side, and I'm watching for the amount of liquid that returns. When no liquid comes back to the center, see where that hole is? That is the time that we're about done. There we go. Let's just check. Well, no, see how that one, we'll give it another second, but it's close. All right, I'm gonna call that good. All right, now we're gonna add our flour. And after you add the flour, we are gonna cook, stirring constantly for about a minute. It's thickening. Beautiful. Minute's up. Now we are gonna add our broth. Whoops, try to not spill. And our Worcestershire and our thyme and bay leaves. Ooh, so delicious. Okay, now I'm gonna bring that to a boil. When it starts to boil, I'm gonna bring it down to a simmer and I'm gonna cover it. All right, we're at a boil, so I'm gonna cover, reduce the heat, and we're gonna wait 30 minutes. But actually, I'll be back in 20 to toast the bread and air fry the gnocchi. Okay, it's time to get our bread in. So I'm gonna go ahead and toast this up. It's gonna take 3 to 5 minutes on 400 at the highest rack. I'll set it for 5 and then we'll go from there. All right, next our fresh or our pre-store-bought gnocchi, which is it just me or do they look fluorescent? So what I have here is a little butter and I'm just gonna pour it into my gnocchi and give it a good toss. Alternately, you could use olive oil or another kind of oil, but I find that the butter helps the browning of the gnocchi just a little bit more. Now, If you don't have the Pampered Chef air fryer, what you're gonna do is pour this all over your tray or in your basket, and you're gonna have to shake it 3 or 4 times during the baking process. However, we here at Pampered Chef have this thing. This is the basket of our air fryer. It is for the rotisserie function, and it works fantastically for turning things that don't fall apart. And these will not fall apart. That's why the store-bought ones, that's why I like them. So I'm gonna dump them all into the basket. And you can try to put that butter that's left over in there, but it's just gonna fall out. It's a wasted effort. And then we will seal it and we will get it into the air fryer. It's gonna take 13 minutes for these to be done. So make sure you put them in the air fryer before these are ready to be done. So I'm gonna put it in on rotisserie, which is 400 for 10 to 13 minutes. It usually takes about 13. All right, and those are gonna come right over here, and this is gonna go right in. Rotisserie, that's 400 degrees for about 13 minutes. If you don't have a rotisserie, just put them in and shake them up and they'll be great. All right, and in 13 minutes, this will be done and we'll be ready to get them back into the air fryer to melt that cheese. Okay, the gnocchi is done. And I'm a bit disappointed. This gnocchi did not brown. Usually the brand that I get browns really well, but I tasted it and it's done and it's crispy and it's so delicious. Look at this crispy gnocchi. All right, it's time to assemble. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this bread to this for now, because I'm gonna need to put my little crocs on this to go into the air fryer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to turn back on my air fryer and keep it going so that it'll remain hot in there. All right, let's open this up, see what we got. Oh yeah. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scoop a few of these gnocchi in each of the bowls. I'm probably just gonna cover the bottom with gnocchi, like that. All right, and now I'm gonna spoon our beautiful soup right over the top of the gnocchi. Oh my, oh, already, that looks fantastic. And we'll top it, we'll put quite a bit. There we go. Now I'm gonna take my crusty bread, I'm gonna set it right on the top. I'm gonna sprinkle with the Gruyère cheese, and you want to do it generously so that it hangs over the side of the bowl, because you gotta get that look, you know? Oh yeah. And then a little bit of Parmesan. All right, now into the air fryer. These are gonna go for 3 to 5 minutes or until they are nice and brown and bubbly and gooey. Meanwhile, we'll get another rack and do the rest of them. Oh my goodness, would you look at those? Okay, I'm gonna set these down right here and get the other ones right in. That's gorgeous. Now we're gonna let them cool for just a moment before we serve them, because they're piping hot and I don't wanna burn myself. I can't wait anymore. I must enjoy some of this. Now, I'm just gonna poke right through the center of the bread and make a mess. I probably filled them way too full. Oh my. Whew. It's hot. There's no delicate way to eat this. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna move the bread off to the side so I can get a gnocchi and the soup. Okay. The gnocchi, of course, it's not crisp anymore, but it still has the kind of chewy outer texture. Unlike the boiled gnocchi, I would venture to guess that this is superior from just the boiled gnocchi. Oh, that's good. All right, well, gnocchi inside onion soup, that's a good thing. So so rich, so decadent. Every minute you spent stirring those onions and that flavor that you captured with that caramelized onion and everything is so, it is almost like a 5-star meal sitting right here. And the gnocchi just gives it that texture that you're looking for. I would assume that when you put the boiled gnocchi in there, it also brings a texture to it, but this is a double texture. So not only do you get that soft, pillowy gnocchi on the inside, but then you get that kind of tougher outside from the fry. Oh, it's really good. I will definitely 100% make this again and for company. However, I just realized I forgot to take out the bay leaves. So make sure you take out the bay leaves before you serve this. I am going to have to, ooh, there. Whew. I was gonna have to tell my family that they were gonna be fishing for bay leaves. So don't do that. Take them out before you serve them to your guests. Otherwise, maybe offer them a prize if they're the one that got the bay leaf. All right, you guys, well, if you enjoyed that video, give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to my channel. I do videos several times a week, and I'm always looking for the next adventure. So if you got one for me, leave it in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm just gonna do things that I find are intriguing, and hopefully you do too. I will see you on the next adventure. Bye. That's good.